Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Prime here, and welcome back to another video. And today, we're not doing a reaction, we're not doing a review. Instead, we're doing a ranking system. We're doing a ranking system, and where I am going to give to you my year-end lists. I'm only going to be doing 2 this year, and this video is going to be my worst albums of 2021. My worst albums of the year, the albums that I listened to that I thought were just degrading pieces of garbage. And surprisingly, there wasn't too much garbage this year. Now, I won't lie, I made these lists before December, and I might not have not touched on every artist or every genre, but out of the stuff that has managed to fall into my lap when I made these lists is what is on here. So without further ado, let's get started. And the first one here I've got at the number 10, the 10th worst album of the year, is this new 21 Pilots record, Scaled and Icy. Why that record? It's, well, a couple of reasons. It's a really dull pop and hip-hop. It's just this new record from this pop and hip-hop duo that is 21 Pilots. It comes back 3 years later after their last record with this new release right here, Scaled and Icy. And the issue with this record is it's so grating. It's so hard to listen to. It's very, very long on the ears. I didn't enjoy it. Their last record, Trench, was so much better of a listen. Comparatively, it just seems like this album is arranged poorly instrumentally and vocally as well, but instrumentally is really egregious. It seems as if there's just a lack of the volume balancing across the project. And the narrative that they lace through their music is there, like with the whole, it's an alternative world and all that other shit. And it's fine if you're into that. I've always hated it. It's a cool narrative if you're into it, but I'm not into it, which is kind of bad because I love, fantasy narratives and shit. You can't see, but that's all the bookshelf of fantasy shit back there. So I like fantasy style narratives, but this just isn't the one. And just nothing from this record gave me any confidence in them for the future. I hope they do come back with better music. Trench is a good record. And I believe, what is their 2015 record? Blurry Face is what it's called, right? Yeah, Blurry Face, that 2015 record, is so much better of a listen. So, hopefully they can come back and make some better music around that time. But that is only the 10th worst album, after all. And the number 9th, the 9th worst record of the year is this new Clever record called Crazy. Now, if you're thinking, who the fuck is Clever, which is what I was thinking, he's just another autotuner. He hasn't really released anything that's made me super inspired as of late. His the song that I know the best is The Life's a Mess 2 with Post Malone and Juice WRLD. She's yawning, sorry. And then he had another hit, Rolls Royce Umbrella with Chris Brown. But this record is so formulaic. Production is dull, vocals are dull, lyrics are dull. It's all just bleh. This record is just like this one guy is his music reminds me a lot of Nav, except Nav is a worse singer. Like, this dude can sing a little bit more. It's a little bit of a worse Kid Laroi. He's like a worse Kid Laroi in my mind. I've got really nothing else to say about that record. It's just really not for me. Now, this next one I know is not going to be popular, especially among my UK following or the people that like UK music, but this record was simply not it for me. And I'm talking about, this is my 8th worst record of the year. The 8th worst record of the year belongs to this new Slow Tie record, Tyron. I know. Everyone's like, what? That record's amazing. And a lot of people really like this record. But, dear God, it's not for me. It has one good song. I don't know if you guys saw that. If you guys saw that in the little screen preview, you see I have Canceled by Skepta with the Skepta on here. Light. And that's the thing. That is the only good song on that record. It is predominantly dominated by Skepta. Slow Tie only has one verse, and it's a pretty short verse. It's a short song. It's a very short song. There's a short verse, and Skepta has a nice chorus on it. But other than that, I've got nothing good to say about this record. This album is one of the most overhyped records of the year, and that really disappointed me. boring flows, annoying vocal inflections, and just some whack-ass lines coming out from Slow Tie. I mean, I'm not going to read any of them out, but you can just skip through the Genius page. You can see some of the weirdest shit that's said on here. Not all from Slow Tie, but, some from his guests as well. And the production is trash on the solo cuts. Features steal the show across the whole record, particularly Skepta and A$AP Rocky on Skepta on Cancelled, and A$AP Rocky on Mazza, and even Denzel Curry on Terms. But yeah, the double disc format, which he's done before, is done well. But if you were to put it in the concept of an LP, of a physical vinyl, like I have vinyls over there, like a physical vinyl, I wouldn't buy either disc. It's like there's just nothing alluring enough. Like, even though I love Cancelled, and I've been in my car like like I love the way the beat is on that song, but I couldn't just by buying the whole disc, a whole record. But yeah, there's my 8th worst record of the year. And now another one that's really gonna annoy the UK following, the 7th. That's the one. The 7th worst record of the year, in my opinion, of course, is this brand new AJ Tracey record, Flu Game. Now, you also can see that I have some likes on here, and there are some good songs on here. Some are Shootout, Little More Love, Anxious, all, by the way, singles. And that's what I'd like to point out about this record. This record is nothing without its singles. The singles on this record, carry. I also have Dinner Guest and West 10 in my liked as well. But once again, all singles. I don't even think Dinner Guest and West 10 fit the narrative of this record at all. I don't think they fit at all with this. And it's just, this LP wasn't even the worst thing I've listened to this year. It's sonically and musically, it doesn't belong on a worst. It was just fine, and that's the issue. This is a record over 2 years in the making to just be boilerplate, basic bitch fine. There's so many bland beats and bland flows across this thing, and almost nothing new for AJ across the entire record. Almost every tune fails to be catchy, aside from the singles. The rest of the album's deep cuts are horrid, and the singles should have just been shoved into an EP, and this project should have gone back to the drawing board. I was streaming this. I was streaming my reaction to this record, Flu Game, on Twitch, and I was struggling to stay awake. I was here I kept even headphones on. I was struggling to do it, man. I couldn't do it. This record was just so slow, man. So slow. I really am disappointed in AJ Tracey's huge step back on this record. And it's just not very good. It's just not very good at all. But yeah, now we move on into the 6th worst record of the year. The 6th worst record of the year. We're taking a little bit of a left turn. We've been mostly resigned in that hip-hop-ish lane, but not this time. The 6th worst record of the year is this new Marshmello record, Shockwave. And you're wondering, why am I picking on Marshmello? What did Marshmello ever do to me? Nothing really. He's got some okay production. He's produced a couple of really great songs. He's got a lot of great singles. I really like Happier. I really like Silence. There's some other ones he's done as well that I'm forgetting about. Come and Go. Hate the Other Side. Chasing Stars. He's had some good tracks. But the biggest issue with this LP is just it's an electronic mess of sounds, and nothing about this record pans out good. The features try their best on this record, whether it's and I'm talking particularly about the vocal features, and in particular Megan Thee Stallion and Juicy J, but they could not save a lot of the horrid instrumental passages across this thing, and it's just he's attempting too much here. I think he's put too much on his plate, and that he can't mix these things correctly. He's attempting to fuse an EDM style with softer pop melodies and hip-hop percussive elements. That goes about as well as walking through the Sahara Desert with no water. It's such, and there's all these, speaking of the Sahara Desert, all these mixes are really dry. I don't know, man. It's just not the greatest record I've heard this year. In fact, it's one of the worst. It's the 6th worst record. But all right, top 5, baby, top 5. So we've gotten through that. We've cut through the bottom half. Now we need to go to the top half of the worst. But let's go ahead and get it rocking. The 5th worst album of 2021 is this brand new Ed Sheeran record, Equals. Man, what a mess this thing is. What an absolute mess this thing is, man. This album is a return to form for Ed, but he's also trying to hit upon some of the sounds that he did on his previous solo record, not counting the collaborations record, his previous solo record, Divide. And while this album has I take that back. He doesn't really hit upon too many of it. He hits like half of that and then half the stuff from collaboration number 6. Apologies. And while this album has less variation than collaboration number 6 and no features like on Divide, that plays significantly to this album's detriment. Ed lacks the versatility to make anything other than what he's created in the past without help or push from other collaborators. There are a few times on this record, though, where he hits on a good song idea. Visiting Hours, Two Step, Stop the Rain. Those are some decent tracks, especially Visiting Hours and Two Step mostly. Like, those are the highlights of this thing. Those are great highlights. But the rest of this record is so goddamn dull. It's so dull. It's so tragic to listen to, man. It's just, it's just, no. I can't do it anymore, man. It's just, ugh. It makes me ill. Makes me ill, I'm telling you, man. All right. Next, we are moving in to the 4th installment. The 4th installment of the worst albums of 2021. The 4th version and the 4th worst song of 2021 is Migos with Culture 3. 4th worst album of the year. Migos is Culture 3. Why is Migos is Culture 3? This is essentially Filler, the album. Nothing but filler. All overdone ideas that were all done on the last 2 iterations of Culture. Culture 1 was the best record. A really powerful and groundbreaking trap record for, I believe, 2017 is when that came out. And Culture 2 was bloated as fuck, but even there were still some decent ideas on there. Stir Fry, Walk It Talk It, White Sand, Motorsport. But on here, there's almost nothing. There's even littler. There's even less. Now, granted, there's less songs, I think, on this, but it's just nothing. Opener is something a little newer. That's the only thing. The opener is something a little newer and done well. Same with the penultimate track on this record, which is, let me grab the title of the penultimate track here. Light It Up, which is a drill cut. And so that's like one of the like more different style cuts. And then there's Avalanche, which is like almost like a modern interpretation of what the Roots are doing. If the Roots did trap, but instrumentally, of course, it's not Black Thought penmanship or anything. But the rest of the record is either recycled garbage or new stuff that's just done so awfully, and it's mostly just recycled garbage. There's little new shit that's done. There's a Justin Bieber track, which I think is, and I think Justin does some good singing on it, but I feel like it's a really weird track. Production is bland and basic by DJ Jarrell and by the rest of the people that are putting this thing together. I believe Quavo is also an executive producer. To the point where even some of my favorite producers have let me down on this. I believe there's a couple of my favorite producers, like Boy Wonder, I believe, is on this record, and he doesn't put together the greatest instrumental passages for this thing. And it just feels like little to no effort was put into this record, despite its long-awaited arrival time after a large pandemic pushback. It just, I was hoping for a return to form for Migos, and it just didn't come through. But regardless, we're into the top 3. Top 3 worst records of the year. And as I go ahead and pull this thing up for the 3rd worst record of the year. The 3rd worst record of the year is this new Hobo Johnson record. Hobo Johnson alienates his fan base. Now, if you're thinking, who's Hobo Johnson? Hobo Johnson, I believe, is a California rapper who has had a pretty interesting career up until this point and has released 4 records, which is kind of played to the, I don't know how to say it, he's kind of narrated his own career arc in his albums. So you've had the rise of Hobo Johnson, which is his first record, where he did rise with huge singles, and then the fall of Hobo Johnson was his sophomore LP, where he indeed fell a little bit, but he had, he had garnered some new fans. He had some newer hits, but he had a more of personal fallings out with his record label and personal issues that he spoke of on the record. And then he released 2 records this year. This is one of them. Hobo Johnson alienates his fan base. And it's just a disgusting attempt to try and retain his fan base, ironically. Because he's doing on this record what he makes a record that's so, he intentionally made this record so horrendously bad. But he didn't have to try that hard, to be honest, which we'll get into later. It's full of acoustic cuts with some modern rap beats as well. Production is so trash. Even my music sounds better on this shitty-ass mic. My music sounds better. Amateurly made, amateurly produced, my shit sounds way better than anything on this record. And it's completely degrading and horrid to listen to. Don't listen to this record. My God, don't listen to this record. All right, now that I've shoved that in your head, it's time for the second worst record of the year. The second, as I just throw up a peace sign. Not really, because it's just the number 2. The second worst record of the year is this new Justin Bieber record, Justice. What is this? What is this thing, man? What is this? What it is? It's another pop album from Bieber with more of an R&B and disco slant. It's so washed out, overproduced, overcompressed, just bleh. It's disgusting. Songwriting is awful, painfully dead lyrics. These lyrics are so cliche. This should belong in a Kids Bop song. If there's Kids Bop, explicit, the explicit cut, so that's where some of these go. And then the thing that really makes this record horrendous is that the bastardization of the MLK speeches sampled across this record are so disgusting to me that it makes Justice even worse than the music that it's portraying. That's the thing. This thing could have been just a fine record. And he's attempting to write almost as if he's still young again, dude. Justin, you're 25, 26 now, right? What is Justin Bieber's age? How old is this bitch? He's 27. Why are you still making that music, bro? What are you doing? You're like MGK making pop punk, making shitty teenage pop punk. What are you doing, man? You're almost 30. Evolve, grow. What are you doing? You have a good voice. What are you doing? This is a disaster. This is a complete and utter disaster. But regardless, we're now on to the last record. The number 1 worst record of the year. And it's a man that we've heard from before already. It's his brand new Hobo Johnson record, or the first Hobo Johnson record that he released this year. The Revenge of Hobo Johnson. What else do I have to say about this, man? What else do I have to say about this? Other than it's just such a disappointment for me. I really enjoyed the fall of Hobo Johnson. I really enjoyed that record. But then, after he parted with his label, this is an independently released record. And it's just so horrid, man. Ugh. Super annoying. Horrid instrumentals that are mainly acoustic. Rickety as fuck. Very shitty lyrics with poor talking points. Speaks about MLK at some point. Really focusing on the MLK slander here on the worst album of the year. And it also says some really weird things of the Rwandan genocide that I'm not a fan of. And all the fun elements of pop and hip-hop that were in his earlier works stripped out. It's mostly just spoken word passages that are disgusting. There's some singing on this record that it's comically bad. And while there are some decent politics across this record, it's tackled in such a tactless fashion that it takes away from the progressive and positive views that he's pushing. But, yeah. Those are my worst records of the year. Real big disappointments. All absolutely degrading to listen to. I will give you a gauntlet run real quick. Number 10, 21 Pilots, Scale and Icy. Number 9, Clever's Crazy. Number 8, Slow Tie's Tyron. Number 7, AJ Tracy's Flu Game. Number 6, Marshmallow's Shockwave. Number 5, Ed Sheeran's Equals. Number 4, Migos' Culture 3. Number 3, Hobo Johnson Alienates His Fan Base. Number 2, Justin Bieber's Justice. And number 1, Hobo Johnson's The Revenge of Hobo Johnson. Those are my worst albums of the year. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a good holiday. the next list will be uploaded on a Christmas day. So take care of yourselves, hug your family, drink water, and have a good time, man. Thank you for watching. Take care, and goodbye.